erratic due to illness, had to cancel at the last minute. But I'll just mention some of the particulars regarding his ditching. You know, in World War II, the survival rate on ditching a B-24 was 25%, meaning 2 to 3 people in every ditching survived. And Herb put his plane down in the Adriatic, and the only person killed, I think, was the one of the probably the top turret gunner, and that was only because the top turret came loose and fell and crushed him in the when it hit the water. Otherwise, all of the crew members, one had been killed over the target, but otherwise all of the crew members survived. They got into rafts and they were rescued by the British. So that was considered a very major successful ditching. As you know, the wings on the B-24 are higher than the body of the plane. So when it goes into flotation mode, everyone is underwater. So that's part of the story. Well, we got a lot to cover, but I feel somewhat like the Arab prince that inherited the harem of women. He said his problem was that it wasn't that he didn't know what to do, he just didn't know where to start. That's kind of the thing here, but I got a little humor. This was, it was used in the Officers Club of the B-450 First Bomb Group. I don't know who the author was. It could have been from another bomb group. And there's a little language in it that I know the enlisted men would not have used, but it was from the Officers Club. Well, I'm going to read it exactly as they have. It was a song that they sung, and many of you possibly have heard it. Okay, the B-24 is the name of the song. Down in Flat Valley, where the black mushrooms grow, the 451st and their big bombers go. We're briefed in the morning and told there's no flak. We fly down that valley and never come back. Chorus, oh that B-24, oh that 4-engine whore. The boys who fly her are sure bound to lose. At 55 inches, she won't even cruise. Oh that B-24, that was the chorus. Then the other wording was, the CO wakes us at 1:45. We go to the briefing, and when we arrive, we're going to Palesti. The 5th time this week. We're scared to fly over the target we see. We're told the weather is kavoo, but we can't see the ground at 100 feet true. 3 layers of clouds hide the earth from the sky. To clear all the weather, we got to fly high. We rendezvous over the Isle of Capri, and we wonder wherever our Mustangs can be. Then off to the target without an escort, one look at that valley and wise men aboard. We take off for France with a full load of gas. If we lose an Indian, it will be our ass. 9 hours of formation, the mission counts 1, no flak, no fighters, no damage to the Hun. We look at the ground through a powerful glass, and we see all the Huns shooting skeet in the grass. Results are all horrid, always the same, as foolish young moths flying into a flame. We feathered a fan over Vienna one day. We called for the group, but they'd all gone away. Left to the mercy of fighters and flak, it's a hell of a wonder we ever got back. The colonels and majors, the milk runs do fly. They send us to targets where many men die. But just about the time they crawl out of the sack, we feathered a fan and we're on the way back. So this was sung in the Officers Club at the 451st Bomb Group, and each time they would sing the chorus. So from a personal viewpoint, I have another thing I need to do. Jack Jones, who was our designated Little Jones by our pilot, he looked at the 2 Joneses on the crew, myself and Jack. We were both 18 years of age. He called me Big Jones and Jack Little Jones. Jack was the nose turret gunner. Now he just lost a 2-year battle with lung cancer, so he's no longer with us. But he did leave this just one summary of a mission to Vienna. and it isn't a long one, so I'll read it, but it will give some of you the idea of just what one mission involves, and so goes. The October 7 mission, this was 1944, to Vienna was my 14th mission, and Captain or Lieutenant Massera, who was the co-founder of the 451st Bomb Group Alumni Association, was our second pilot. Our first pilot was a captain. He had been promoted up to wing. The mission was important to me in several respects. Our new tail gunner, Joe Frine, was wounded early on the bomb run. We sustained heavy flak damage, but the officers got us back to base with over 78 holes in the plane. We sustained damage to a fuel tank that resulted in some fuel loss. But Sergeant Atkins, our flight engineer, was able to transfer the remaining gasoline to a damaged tank before losing so much we couldn't get home. The hydraulic line was cut, which Sergeant Atkins also repaired before losing too much fluid. Plexiglass panels to the navigators, bombardier's compartment, the cockpit, and the top turret were shattered. A piece of flak lodged in the bomb sight. The Peter Dofo co-pilot remembers that a piece of flak shattered the blister window to his right, passed across the flight deck, inexplicably missing his face, and struck Lieutenant Pete Massera's flak helmet and knocked it off his head. Paul Anderson in the ball turret had a piece of flak pass through one leg of his flight suit under his bent knees and ricocheted within the turret without wounding him. However, it frightened him, so he opened the hatch to crawl out into the waist of the plane, but when seeing all the holes in the fuselage, he concluded that the ball turret with its armor plating was perhaps a safer place. Paul lowered the hatch and put the turret into a full spin. In the nose, I was surrounded by plexiglass but had no fractures. However, I had an excellent view of the very accurate flak pattern we were flying to, heard the many hits to our plane, and wondered how we were still flying. This is the important one, and Jack never really forgot this. Suddenly, Lieutenant Robinette's plane, flying in number 3 position, received a major hit, lost power, stalled, tilted to the right, and appeared to be coming straight at us, flying in number 4 position, as though we were going to ram the nose of our plane. I just knew we were done. Fortunately, Lieutenant Massera, our pilot, saw the danger in time to just barely raise the nose of our plane enough for Lieutenant Robinette's plane to pass under us, clearing us by inches, according to Jack. Incidentally, after the war, well, not after the war, but after we completed our mission, Jack had to go into the hospital for several weeks, and this didn't help his cause very much. I watched the plane, which was in a tight spin for as long as it was in view, and saw no one bail out. So that is just one kind of personal recap of a single mission. Now, when you consider that we basically had to fly 35, or as some people say, 50, and it might be worth explaining, some missions, sorties, whatever you want to call it, counted double, mostly because they were above a certain line on the continent. And they were, I suppose, considered more difficult to a certain extent. And so when you hear people say how many missions they had, often they'll say 50. But they didn't actually have 50 takeoff and landings. They had probably 35 or 36, and some counted double. So I've never said that I had 50 because I couldn't quite equate to the idea that to have a mission, you have to take off and land 35 or 50 times. And I knew that in our case, we had exactly 35, the replacement crew that I was on. So that's something for you to remember and when you're talking to people, because you can be confused as to how many missions they actually flew. So I will say something like this. one of our armament, well, actually a bomb sight expert, told me, he said, I don't know why you got a presidential unit citation for the Markersdorf mission. Now that was flown, incidentally, on August the 23rd. And I had to go back one mission. On August the 22nd, our bomb crew lost about a third of our planes near Vienna. And our, our wing hierarchy decided to send us up to bomb what they thought was the German airfield at Markersdorf. And they loaded us up with fragmentation bombs. A fragmentation bomb is kind of like a picket fence with individual bombs, and when they come out of the airplane, they scatter. And so the formations cannot be as tight as they normally would be, meaning that the formations were more vulnerable to attack by the Germans. Now, this was our first mission. Oh, incidentally, I should go back just a minute. On August the 22nd, Ryan O'Brien from his bomb group sent me an article saying we lost so many planes on August the 22nd. Now, they were in the same bomb wing as the 451st. So in this case, the Germans had not only attacked our bomb group, but also theirs. And it just illustrates how we were all in the same boat. I mean, we were an integrated group, and we suffered, and sometimes it hit one bomb group, sometimes another, and so forth. When August the 23rd, our first mission, I'm 18 years old, 3 of the gunners are barely 19, and very little briefing. So the first thing that happened as we approached the target, and there was clouds underneath us, was a B-17 appeared off our right wing, literally out of nowhere. And we inquired of the pilot as to whether we should fire on it. No one had told us that the Germans had refabricated several B-17s and B-24s. After all, we lost over 8,000 heavy bombers in World War II in Europe. So it wasn't hard for the Germans to put together several. They probably had a bigger supply of spare parts than we did. And so the pilot didn't know what to do. But we soon found out. This was a command ship for the German fighters that were coming from below out of the clouds. And in short order, I mean very short order, 9 of our bombers were shot down. The 2 rear squadrons lost more than half of their planes. And again, I mentioned our pilot was a captain, and where we were in the second position in the first squadron. We would not have normally been there, but because our pilot was a captain, there was a pecking order in things in the war, just like in office life. And so basically, we lost just 1 plane out of our squadron. And I still remember the plane that attacked our bomber. Being so close, I could see the helmet and the face of the pilot, but I couldn't fire at him because my turret could not fire below a level 11. And this plane was I don't know how many feet lower than ours, and the fire from the plane was extending back to the nose of the German fighter. He was that close to and I think half of the crew were able to bail out, but that was that. Now, having said that, again, remember, on August the 22nd, we lost a third of our planes to German fighters. The very next day, we lost another third. Now, you didn't have to take much of a mathematician to figure out if you're going to fly 35 of these, what's the likelihood of your surviving? And you always had that understanding when you stepped into a plane. So, at that time, I think the average life of a crew was 12 to 13 missions. And some went down in their first. And one good reason for that is what I mentioned. If you didn't have rank, you were tail end Charlie in most of the formations. And being tail end Charlie was not good if you're talking about fighter attacks. Now, the thing that I do want to emphasize on this mission was that our nose turret gunner did not see a German fighter go down. We did shoot down quite a number, but the attack was from below and to the crews and squadrons flying low behind us. And we received a presidential unit citation, but literally the people that should have gotten the citation would have been the Germans, because I'm sure that they considered this a very successful mission. Not only, we were bombing their airfield, not only were the planes not there, they were attacking us. So you can understand that we did do a whole bunch of damage to their airfield, even though we went ahead and bombed the target. And they were so efficient in doing what they did that it was most impressive. It impressed everyone. And the only thing I can say is that after losing a third of our planes on the 22nd of August and another third on the 23rd, someone felt we deserved something, so they gave us the presidential unit citation. That was our third. And incidentally, in our people that are attending here, I don't want to be in a bragging mood, but I will tell you that the 376 and the 451st were the only bomb groups that I know of that got 3 presidential unit citations from the 15th Air Force. And I also figured that you had to lose about 1/3 of your planes to begin with. Okay, so now that takes up a lot of time. Now, Hugh Landsberg has been kind enough